So it's a $2 million impact investing fund, and what we're looking to do is we're looking to raise capital from local investors in the community. So that's going to include high net worth individuals, so that's going to include public foundations. We also have funding from the government that we're sort of calling it as first loss capital. And then on the other side, we're looking for social enterprises. So social enterprises, how we like to define it as, is a business venture that is looking to generate revenue, but at the same time, they're looking to have a social or an environmental impact. So we're looking for those social enterprises, not startups, but social enterprises that have had some kind of revenue generation or have a customer base or have some kind of a product, and they're looking for an additional round of financing to sort of get bigger. We're calling them sort of scalable ventures. We already cater to startups, social enterprises with our loan fund, but this fund, which we're calling the Verge Capital Fund 1, we're looking to sort of attract much more seasoned social enterprises that are looking for more financing. So what Verge is going to act as, we like to call ourselves sort of like the middleman in this, where we're going to be having investors on one side, social enterprise on the other side, and then we're going to be sort of managing the fund, all the investments from both ends. A little bit about the fund. So like I said, a $2 million fund. It's going to be about a 7-year closed-end fund, meaning that after 7 years, the fund is going to be closed. Right now, it's tentative, but we're looking to have about 8 to 10 investments. What kind of investments? So social enterprises and impact real estate. So when we're looking on one side of the fund, when I talk about social enterprises, like I mentioned previously, we want them to be, we don't want startups. We want them to be seasoned a little. They have some revenue generation. They have some customers. And also impact real estate. So impact real estate is this huge bubble. You can have museums in there, affordable housing, social housing, community hubs. And the reason we want impact real estate is because we want this fund to be stable. We're looking to have about 50% of the fund to be have some kind of real estate in it. So out of that $2 million fund, we're looking to have about $1 million in affordable housing, social housing, along those lines. And then the other 50%, we're looking to have invested in social enterprises. I think that pretty much covers what we're have about the fund thus far, and I'll pass it off to Nikki. She'll explain to you exactly what we're doing on a day-to-day basis when we're doing investment research.
So right now we're really trying to, I guess, get the lay of the land. Before, Pillar and Verge were very London-based, and so following this shift from really catering to London to expanding to helping the region as a whole, and really fostering that network. Right now we're trying to reach out to all of our partners in the different corners of southwestern Ontario. Many of you we've already spoken to, and really understanding what you see as the needs that aren't being met in your region in terms of social enterprises, the support systems that they're lacking, for example, access to capital specifically for our fund. And looking at what they care about. So what are their impact focuses? For example, innovating agriculture, the environment, med tech. What do your communities care about? And then seeing how our fund can help meet those needs. So we've spoken to Megan, and she's going to follow up with this event, and with that, we'll attach a one-page kind of summary of what we've talked about today with our contact information, because we'd love to hear from you guys about what you see in your own communities. And so, yeah, our contact information will be there. If you want to learn more about the fund, it's on the website, and you can talk to us. We'll be around for a bit. Thank you. Yes.
We've been told repeatedly today that nobody here knows what a social enterprise is. Can you tell us your definition before I go bringing in applications?
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, one of the most common issues in this space is not having a very standard definition. But Saeed mentioned earlier that I guess the simplest kind of in a nutshell definition that we use is a business that has dual purposes. So one, to generate revenue, so the financial returns, while also generating a social or environmental impact. So having those two kind of grow with the company in lockstep is, to us, the key indicator of a social enterprise.
Are you open for business now?
When
You're
you
just doing the research.
So we're still in the research phase. In my research phase, we're sort of looking at candidates. We're looking at who we could potentially talk to further that are interested in being a part of this fund. We don't have anyone specifically picked out yet, but I think examples I can provide to you is if you've heard of Texas for Change or Oldies Village. Those are good examples of sort of what would fit in the fund. Why? Because Texas for Change has been around for a while now, and they have this baked-in business model where they generate revenue, but at the same time they have a social and environmental impact as they sort of collect their books at the same time. And secondly,
I can't hear you. What was the name of that organization?
so yeah, Texas for Change.
Textbooks for Change?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Oldies Village. Either or work as good examples of what we're trying to look for in this fund.
I think, was Fraser also asking if we have loan funding available now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And Verge, yes. So we have Verge Capital Fund 1 and Verge Capital Fund 2. So there is funding there on the one fund, and you'll have to tell me, one is up to $100,000 and the other is up to $250, right?
No.
No? Okay. I know nothing. I know nothing.
No.
I actually don't. I shouldn't be
That was
sorry.
a great start. Okay, I guess. So what we have so far is we started off with our loan fund. We call it the Social Enterprise Loan Fund, and that was started about 2 years ago from government grants. And then we also had collaborators come on board, and they sort of pitched in, and now we have a loan fund. So far we've given out about $250,000 in loans to startups. So that's our first sort of product that I like to sort of call it. Now we're moving into introducing another product, which is called the Verge Capital Fund 1. This one is sort of looking to be released next year, early of 2018. And this is the one that I was talking about, the $2 million fund, where we're trying to not sort of cater to startups, but much more scalable ventures. Startups is on this side. We're already doing it for 2 years. We've had success with it. Now we're sort of trying to enter this new market because everybody needs financing, as that's sort of been what we've seen thus far in our research. So we're trying to cater to that, but not for startups, but for scalable ventures that need that extra round of financing to grow.
The current one is still available, and it's from $5,000 to $100,000 loans are available, and we're now making them available to the region.
Yes.
It sounds like you guys are still shoring up the details for this, like some of the specifics, which is good. And you said it's gonna close 7 years from its first investment.
Mm-hmm.
So when are you actually launching the fund, and how long do you anticipate looking for investment opportunities from that point?
Well, I would say that we're as we're going through this process, we're always interested in talking to individuals that have that know about investment opportunities. We can't really tell you right now that we'll take you on, but we're definitely interested in sort of creating this pipeline, as we would say. We haven't really done due diligences on anyone as of right now, but as we start approaching the end of the year, we're going to start doing due diligences on investment opportunities that we feel like we want to start the fund off with. So I can give you a date about April of 2018 is when we want to make our first investment around that time. So that's pretty much the timeline we're working with. Again, it is tentative, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make some investments starting in April of 2018. Yes?
So from the investor's point of view, they would then say invest $100,000 and it would be closed for 7 years. They'd be locked in for 7 years on that?
We haven't really finalized on that, but yes?
Yeah, and then what would the return on investment be? Like, interest on that 100,000 or like interest, or would they just give you the 100,000 and give it back?
No. So we're looking to target a return on investment about 5% for the investors.
For your cumulative?
So we're going to be making interest payments on a continued basis. So either on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis. Again, that's going to depend on sort of what the investments look like, right? If we have really investments that are generating cash flows right up front and a lot of it, hey, it'll be easier for us to make payments on a monthly basis. But if you feel like there's some issues here and there, then we can hold off for a couple months. But again, it's going to be on a very periodic basis where investors are going to be getting their money back. So it's not going to be all at the end. they're going to be getting their money back on a continued basis.
And then interest is like really been on an annual basis? Or how would interest be I'm just trying to understand from the investor's perspective, is it attractive?
Yeah. So again, the whole fund is a debt fund, so there's going to be all loans in there. So back to your point. So investor invests, let's say 100,000, and then so their principal is going to be, of course, put to use. But then we're going to be paying interest on a periodic basis, and then at the end they'll get their principal back, like you would with a bank loan. So similar to like a bank loan, right? Your bank will give you the money, and then you're going to be making your interest payments to them, and then at the end you make the principal payment. Yeah. Yeah.
The fund, when you say region, are you talking include like this whole southwestern area?
Yes. So we just recently expanded our sort of scope. Yes. So that will include.
Yeah, I can tell you the regions. So Owen Sound, Sarnia, Windsor to Hamilton, Niagara, Waterloo, Guelph to Orangeville, and then angled up. Yes. I don't know, maybe. I should just keep my mouth quiet.
Yeah, so when it comes to specific people, I think we're going to sort of hold off up until high net worth individuals. So if you have anyone that sort of falls under that category and they're interested, we'd love to talk to them. But right now, what we've sort of seen, Nikki and I especially, is investors aren't necessarily that much of a problem as it is the demand side, so the social enterprises. What we've seen in this space is there's a lot of startups. There aren't many social enterprises that are sort of been around for several years. But again, we're always interested in learning more about who's out there. Yes?
Will the access to both your loan fund and your new capital fund be accessible to social enterprises across our region beyond the end of this grant?
Yes, because this loan fund is being set up for 7 years. So
The capital and the current?
right, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Do you guys have anywhere with a list of criteria published so that we know who to approve? Is that on the website or?
Yeah, so that's going to be in the promotional kind of one-pager that we're going to forward to Megan.
And I'll add it to the SESW site under resources. We'll add that so you have it there easily
It's
accessible.
also on the Verge Capital site.
Right. Our monitor went to sleep. I'll turn it back on.
What's your point spread going to be? The investors are getting 5.
And we're looking to have about 2% in management fees. And the loans are going to vary. We can issue out loans. So let's say we have a impact real estate, right? Something along those lines. We're looking to have like a $500,000 loan there, but it might be like 4%. Or we can have like someone that's looking to scale very aggressively in a very short period of time. They might get a little bit of a higher interest rate, or a revenue share loan, something along those lines. But yeah.
You just go to Verge Capital.
Any more questions? Yes.
While you get the website up, how are you measuring social return? And are you guaranteeing anything on that front to your investors, or?
Social return, we haven't had any talks about guaranteeing anything. I think Andre can speak to you a little bit better on the social return aspect because that's something that he's worked a lot with. But we're definitely, again, if we wouldn't identify you as an investment opportunity if you're not making any kind of social return. Then you're not really fitting in with what we're trying to cater to. So we're for sure going to have every investment that's going to be in that fund is going to have some kind of a social return, whether that's employment, such as hiring individuals that are marginalized, or making sure that their revenue is going to certain initiatives outside of their work. So those kind of social returns what we're looking for. We haven't really finalized them, but again, they will be in there. Anything else?
We'll be around if you have more questions. So you can find us or Andre, who's in charge of us actually. Good job.
Yeah.
He's responsible for us. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome job. Do you see why I feel inadequate as a grown-up? Oh my gosh. Okay. So how is everybody doing? Pretty good? Can I go through Flourishing Business? I'm going to introduce Flourishing Business Canvas, just a short little piece, because it is a big piece of what we do here. I don't know how well you can see that. I didn't light box it. But do you have any questions first that I can answer? Are you feeling clearer about social enterprise, or are we back really deep in the mud? Wavy, blurry? Yeah. It's hard, right? Because it's just not a clear thing. It's not a clear thing. Yeah.
I think really, I keep on hearing, especially your last definition, I often go from the triple bottom line.
Yes.
And that's financial sustainability, social sustainability, environmental.
Right.
So that's pretty clear, whereas traditional business is
Yep.
single bottom line, money.
Right.
Social enterprise is triple bottom line.
Right.
In terms of having that can be very clear.
It can be. So what she was saying is that social enterprise has the triple bottom line of environmental and social as well as financial impact. That can make it very clear. But some social enterprises don't have an environmental piece. They may only have a social and financial piece, or they may be very strictly environmental without any opportunity for a social aspect. Possibly. Do they go hand in hand? I mean, you could say there's a social benefit. And I think when we define it, in our terms, when we define social benefit, we're thinking a benefit to people, not just society as a whole. And we can do a vague, not explicit impact to people, but at the same time, when we're measuring impact, we want to measure the impact to people or to environment. And there are agencies that may only have 2 out of 3. We do really strive for triple bottom line, or try impact, which is what this does, this Flourishing Business Canvas. Ideally, my big wow moment would be having those conversations with businesses and reaching all of that. So in some cases, we have really solid social enterprises that only have 2 out of 3.
And then I guess you could at the end of the day say, well, that third line is an opportunity for growth.
Always, yes, that third line is always an opportunity for growth, always. And sometimes our 2 out of 3 is social and environmental, and the financial's a little iffy. So we, there's an opportunity for growth for sure. Yeah, Kathy.
Is there any work being done towards having our own, so for the region,
Yep.
our own assessment tool that, you can't, like, I'm going to give the example of B Corp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like their own criteria assessment.
Right.
We're looking at maybe creating something in Niagara, but why would we all each have our own kind of
Right.
take-in process, like even for the investors, like when
Yeah.
we have to decide is this, risk analysis and
Right.
looking at
Actually,
identifying what the social impact.
so are you talking about an intake form?
Yeah, or so, like something that is like a assessment.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of, absolutely. Right. So you want a specific certification tool similar to B Corp, but that would only fall to not-for-profits then, to say, hey, this is a social enterprise, or to the whole picture?
Could be a social enterprise. So we have our own
Yeah.
social impact. What is it that
that's a possibility. My brain goes to long-term sustainability, which is why we're trying to take this knowledge and embed it into the Ontario Network of Entrepreneurs. So the reason we're embedding it is they are long-term, stable agencies that will likely be funded long beyond our project.
What a toolkit for us.
A toolkit, yes, so that then when it goes through, it's there with the people who are stable.
Or at least a series of questions that we could.
Yeah, definitely have a series of questions. I can show you what we use here. I'm sure it's under Coach's Toolkit. Might not be. I can't remember where I put it. Oh, but I did add a pup date. Come on. That's my dog telling me stories. Okay, sorry, I forgot I did that at one moment. We have an intake form, but
What's the checklist, social enterprise?
that's the checklist we talked about earlier. We do have an intake form, that we go through, and we base social enterprise on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So we ask a social enterprise, which of these UN goals do you fit into? Is it the under? Okay.
The UN Sustainable.
UN Sustainable Development Goals. It'll be right here. I think I've got it. I think that's the one we stole from Tech Alliance. Is he still here? Yeah. I know. We stole some of your stuff.
Oh, good.
It's so great. It's so much easier when other people do it. What we did is we took our intake and actually embedded it into our CRM, our database. So I don't think I deep sixed our Google version. But we go through and we say, which area of impact do you have? And it's attached to UN goals, to global standards in terms of, for global standards in terms of social enterprise. Let's see if I can find it on Basecamp here. Under training, did you think? Okay. This is Basecamp. If you want access to this, I'm more than happy to give you access. You will have to put up with the odd puppy photo. I don't see it. I think I deep sixed it. So then it had, where do you feel you have impact? And then which of these 17 UN goals does your project fall under? And we asked the entrepreneur themselves to identify. It's things like stronger communities, health and wellness, water, life on land, life below water. All of those UN goals are there. And we asked the entrepreneur, yes, Ken?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't think I could go
No, that's okay.
So the SROI, the social return on investment, do you guys have a list of actual metrics that
We don't. Now, we're working on another grant through the same ministry called Project Impact. And so they're taking 1 year to travel throughout the province to develop a standardized set of metrics to use when measuring impact. It's not done yet, but should be at least a framework by next year. So we will have something. Right now, because of how we measure typically because we're getting a grant. And when we get that grant, we're measuring what they want, what they tell us they need. Bums in seats, again, being key. Holding the event. I kind of joked last night that my metric was to hold the event. It didn't actually matter if anybody showed up. My milestone was to hold an event at a social enterprise restaurant. Nothing to do with people. Which, to me, I find entertaining, but that's the truth of metrics, right? Exactly. It didn't ask. It just said, hold the event. So some of it's interpretation, but that framework should be here at some point. Let me search real quick and see if I... I don't think that's it. Let's see. No, I don't have it. So I will find that and I'll post it for you. Again, like I said, we put it right into our CRM. Initially, we had it as a form for entrepreneurs to fill out, but then it got complicated because it is long. And then we got weird answers and people weren't sure what we meant when we said UN Sustainable Development Goals. They thought, well, I'm not part of the UN. I'm not doing sustainable development. So we now meet them face to face and walk through that process with the entrepreneur. Saves everybody a lot of heartache. Absolutely. Yep. Yes. You know nothing about me. I have no business cards. I'm just a random person that walked in to do this. And so I didn't even post my email address at the end, but I will give it to you at the end, or I will email everyone with all of our contact info, if you're okay with that. You're on video giving complicit, consent. So we will, I'll email you my contact info. If I miss anything today or you can't find resources, please let me know. We're happy to share everything.
So going back to one.
Yes.
Are they in the process then of creating like an audit tool so that network that people can use? Kind of like when we do financial reporting.
Right.
It would be great if we could use social impact reporting.
Right.
In a more uniform way, so we're all talking the same, just like we talk social
Right.
Southern Ontario.
Yes, that's that checklist.
Okay.
So when we go through the checklist, and then we have continuum examples. So on top of the checklist, I went through that continuum and wrote examples of what each one looks like in open language so that you can go through and say, okay, I kind of get a feel for what this is. That's the best we can do at this point, I thought. However, please, I am open to feedback anytime. And so we looked at this checklist, just a walkthrough. Is the intent to do good? Do they do good? Do they measure it? How do they measure it? If you didn't launch this business, what happens? So that's a key differentiator between business, like ordinary business, and social enterprise, is that in business planning, we say, can I start this business? In business modeling or lean startup, we say, should I start this business? And in social enterprise, we say, I must start this business. It's key. Because business planning is about forecasting, about planning. Let's do everything laid out. If the plan says it's good, it's good. We can give it a try. Business modeling says, I'm not sure, let's go try it. Pivot, I'm not sure, let's go try it. Rapid prototyping, we tend towards that model. Because we move into that next step of social entrepreneurs who say, I must do this. Someone's suffering. You know, the environments, we're dumping into the river. There are animals dying. We don't have monarch butterflies. Children are suffering, something, right? The puppies, okay? The dogs. Something's happening. We have to start this business. I have lots more updates. And so we get that sense of urgency. I think I said earlier where we lose our social entrepreneurs in the business planning process. So if we can get them to rapid prototyping and starting that business modeling and then move them into business planning while they're in that prototyping stage, we see a little more success. They meet their own sense of urgency. That's the entrepreneur that has an intrinsic reason for doing good while doing well. Fraser's giving me a look. Is that, you're not buying it? Not at all. Why would anybody do this? Why would you impact your bottom line? I get it. It's hard. And it's a hard concept to get across. So that sense of urgency is the piece that we've really come to appreciate. That's a need that needs to be met. So that's the question. If you don't launch this business, what happens? I'm not a social entrepreneur, they say someone else is going to do it. Someone will steal my idea. I'll lose money. I won't get to market fast enough. A social entrepreneur says suffering, typically. Something else is going to happen. And then we asked the question, if you had to launch Thursday, what would have to happen? It's not a typical business planning question. It's a business modeling or rapid prototyping. You're going to market Thursday. What do you need to do? If it's not a social entrepreneur, they talk with their shareholders. They need to get financing in place. They need products. With a social entrepreneur, they need to talk to their stakeholders. They need to talk to the people who are going to benefit. It's a different model. Their answers are slightly different. So it gives you a checklist, walks you through kind of like some maybe answers. Unfortunately, there's this gray area right down the middle. You're like, this person answered 5 this way and 5 that way. What does that mean? I don't know. Yeah, use your judgment. You know what? Actually, go back to, is their intent to do good? Do they do good? Can they measure it? If it's only this much good, that's fantastic. Yes. Yes. I know, it's so hard. Measurement comes from research. Yes. So research the positive benefits of music to under-resourced populations, as an example. What benchmarks? They're out there.
They're out there. Are they out there for Southern Ontario? Because again, the closer homeowners get, the more
Well,
applicable they would be.
Kent, from researcher from University of Windsor, just putting that out there, might be a great research project.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do that. Like, I would think sometimes you're right, it's better to look at the local situation. It's also good to broaden it, see what else you can get. But
Like Ontario, for like.
Yeah, you would have to go bigger.
There, like, for example, we're kind of fitted apples.
Yeah. However, if it's a new idea, you're not going to find regional, so you're going to look bigger. And it takes years to get those benchmarks, 10 years. Pathways to Learning, how long have they been in operation? It took a decade prior to that to create benchmarks to allow them to become the organization that they are. So it's not something that can be done in 2 months. You can benchmark from the research. Yes, Annette.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to Allie.
Okay.
Cookbook.
Yes.
Okay, so I still struggle with why she's not a social enterprise. 'Cause she's building, remind me.
Right.
She's building community. She's not
Right.
not doing it for herself.
Right.
So why is she not?
So Allie came and she wanted to create a cookbook. She's a beautiful food photographer, and she wanted the opportunity to showcase her food photography at the same time as celebrating London. She's a newcomer to the area, was surprised that Londoners are a little jaded to the city, and wanted to, reignite people in this lovely place. Now, I'm from outside London, so I actually think London's really awesome, but again, I live an hour away, so I live in Sarnia. So I know, yay, Sarnia represent. So she came in wanting to celebrate community as well as showcase her photography. When we got right down to it, she was giving a small percentage of the net profits of her book to Reforest London. However, her bottom line was impacted on the book. So she couldn't print on environmentally friendly or forest certified papers in order to meet the bottom line need. So her initial need was to meet a certain profit level. So when
Make it affordable.
yes, right. And so we did a discovery meeting, so we sat down, we chatted. She's a really awesome person. We think the next project, the first one, she really wanted to maintain control, really wanted to be the director and orchestrate every piece of the book, had to keep it affordable because people don't want to pay a lot of money for a cookbook. So to get it onto forest certified paper, which would then also support Reforest London, or the concept behind the agency she was donating to, that would put it out of a range that she felt she could sell. So when we extracted all the info, we came down that really she wanted control, bottom line, and to get her name out. She wasn't intrinsically about making a difference in terms of Reforest London.
Okay, but she was basically about making a difference
Yes.
around building community.
Absolutely. Can she measure it? So her intent was to do good, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did she do good? 50%? Yeah, she did pretty good. Could she measure it? We were getting really intangible. If she pushed it and came back and said, I really want to do something good, then we'd say, sure, okay.
But all I'm saying is, in the field,
Mhm.
I'm lucky, I'm in London, I
Yeah,
can
I know.
go to Meg and say, can you help me
Yeah.
to find if this is it? If she'd walked through my door and gave me all those things,
Yep.
I would have defined her as a social enterprise.
You know what? And use your judgment because you know her and you have that relationship, and you'd say, this person really wants to do good. And that's great.
So, but in your mind, she's not. In my mind,
I would
she
say,
is.
yeah,
So
she's
here
like
we go.
on that gray, right? I felt it. My metric, my litmus test was if she was really concerned about forestry, then the real concern would have come through those other pieces. We were missing, and actually the triple bottom line.
Except the bottom line there that would have been gone was she
That's
wouldn't
right.
have sold the books.
That's-
It would not have been. She couldn't have done that.
Right.
The people wouldn't have bought them for $150.
I know.
She had to go print it here as opposed to office.
Yes. And so that might have led to some innovation. So, and then another way we talked about was, could she support a different agency, Growing Chefs, and get them, the chefs that support Growing Chefs, to do the recipes and then donate that money back to that agency? Yeah. Different means. And she said no, she really wanted to support the chefs of London, and it was about getting her photography out. And so, but she said her next project, because on the second...
She's now partnered with Field of Four.
Oh, that's okay. That's great,
So maybe
right?
something
Yes,
changed.
no, that's great.
And now she's working with Fanshawe College so maybe
Okay,
we can transition.
yes, so there's a little bit of a pivot, right? Yeah,
Like, you bring to could you kind of, when you're judgment character on them, like a walk the talk test,
yes,
and in that saying, okay, well, how much faster do we need to walk to catch up with
yeah,
people? Maybe it's just the cover that's on,
Right.
forestry certified paper, or, all color ones are this way, you can kind of still blend,
yes,
and then maybe reach that little bit closer. But
Yeah.
I guess when
Right.
and then she's going to coordinate.
Yeah, I don't think I said no. I said you needed a few pivots. Because if someone really wants to do good, which she does, then we want to foster that. That's how we get that relationship, right? And that's how we say, okay, I can't wait till your next project. Like, this is going to be fantastic. Right, yes. Yeah, Kathy.
In that particular example, like what kind of resources was she accessing? It seems like a pretty simple project.
Oh, no, it was hugely complex. Also, she had the most beautiful business plan I have ever seen. I was so creative, the design, I was just insane. So much behind it. So she had to meet with chefs. She had to provide the food so the chefs could make a dish so that she could then set up full studio photography for the dish. Then she had to get the recipes printed. She had to send it offshore to be printed and bound, shipped back, create a program where she could sell it at those restaurants, get the book sold. It was actually a huge undertaking. Huge, yeah.
With no profit to herself.
Yeah, zero profit to herself. Zero profit. Yeah.
Just curious, without talking about
Yeah.
this project for the rest of the afternoon, why is she going offshore for printing?
You can't print, it's just almost impossible to print regionally, yeah, and any kind of competitive price, a third of the price. And the book was still coming out at $50. And so for her to print in Canada was $150. I know.
Very
So
expensive.
yeah,
Very, very
yeah.
No opportunity for sponsorship.
Well, we did talk. So when Annette and I met with her, we did talk about that, and she did consider that. She hadn't, right, or to have the chefs pay for the privilege of being in the book.
Yeah. But she didn't
She
want
didn't-
to do that.
right.
She didn't want them to have to pay. She didn't want them to think that it was them paying. She wanted it to build community.
Yeah.
And wanted to actually showcase the chefs so that they're being celebrated as well, and so that she really wants to build people coming together and eating together around community. That's really the basis. Of
Yeah.
And just one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is fantastic.
If for example, as like
Yeah.
a spin-off, offer each recipe for Dale Mold for 99 cents.
Yeah,
and
that's
that goes 100% to Victoria Street.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I think she is looking at a model around
Yeah.
download too.
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. So those little pivots, that's that prototyping. So you go out and you test the models.
She
Tweak
now
and tweak
has
and tweak.
Tourism London working with
Yeah,
her.
it's so
She
cool.
has downtown London working with her. This is a young girl that's only been here 3 years.
Yeah,
From I think it's Argentina.
Argentina, South America.
Like
Yeah.
incredible. She's incredible.
Yeah, very, just loves London. It just wants other people to celebrate the city, which is, you know what, that is a UN sustainable goal, right?
Yep.
Strong communities. We need more of that.
I think we need
Yeah.
to relook at her.
Okay, I'm in now. You actually convinced me while we were sitting here. I'm in. So I'm just going to introduce to you Flourishing Business Canvas in the 3-minute little zip through. And then we'll have final questions because it's 3 and I personally feel brain overload. My attention span is this long and I'm kind of tired. But if we want to keep going, we can talk about social procurement. If you're really excited to talk more policy and theory, I'm totally happy to talk. I know, right? Yeah, it's okay. Totally yawn in my face. I get it. There's this person at the front who will not stop talking. Flourishing Business Canvas. Is everyone familiar with a business model canvas? Has anyone never heard of it? Okay, actually, so let me see if I can find one up for you. So business model canvas is sort of a snapshot. Okay, this is the business model canvas. This came about early 2000s. Alex Osterwalder and some guys, hipsters, that use this with stickies to take a look at basically a business model rather than a business plan. They looked at business planning, extracted what they felt were the key pieces, and you sit down in a group and you write down on stickies each of these pieces. So how are you going to make money? What's it going to cost you? Who are your key customers? What are you actually doing? What are your activities? People forget that. We make purses, but they forget to add on key activities. Make purses. Value propositions. What is unique that you bring to the market that's going to make people buy from you? So when we get to Flourishing Business Model Canvas, this was created by a group out of OCAD. And they looked at Business Model Canvas, the one I showed you previously, and they thought, well, that doesn't address triple bottom line. We're missing environmental, we're missing social, and they know that inherently social enterprises are different. They want this for every business. I think I said in impact change I had big, hairy, audacious goals. These guys have big, hairy, audacious goals. Their dream is a world where every business does this and takes a look at all of the categories on here, not just social enterprises. They have a huge goal. And so instead of looking at customer segments, we look at stakeholders. So B Corporation, it showed the progression from a shareholder corporation to a stakeholder. When we do Flourishing, we look at stakeholders. It's not just about your customers or your shareholders. There are other people who are impacted by your business that may not be customers, and they are stakeholders. We don't just look at cost and revenue. We look at cost. We look at what's your goal. So yeah, your goal is money. So $60,000 a year, first off, goes on there. Absolute minimum for wages, which shocks our entrepreneurs, because social entrepreneurs say, I can live on $15,000 a year. You can't. We got to be realistic here. So 60,000, we have a moment, we come back. We say, how much do you want your business to earn? It's a business. 100K? Well, now who do you want to help? So we want to hire 12 people with barriers. We want to use 70% environmentally friendly packaging. We want to do X, Y, Z. All of those are goals. And then we say, well, what do you benefit? Who benefits? And what is the benefit to doing these things? It's not just revenue. There are other benefits outside of money. So we articulate that. There are costs. So if we look at this board as 3 nested boxes, you'll see the dark green, the lighter green, and then the gold in the middle. And where we put our stickies is dependent on what we're talking about. So there are environmental costs to every business. That's why you're all digital today. When Andre and I were learning this, we used our jobs as the example, and I walked away profoundly impacted on the amount of paper we used and the lack of digital resources we took advantage of. As much as possible now, I've tried to go digital for everything. And that's just simply by doing this. So we look all through this ecosystem actor on your right side, on the right side, that's all benefits. We have stakeholders, but these ecosystem people, if you think of stakeholders and ecosystem actors like a play, or your business like a play, and that everyone lurking around the stage is an ecosystem actor. And the people who have a role in your play are a part, those are stakeholders. So often you will get ecosystem actors who put pressure on your business that are not a stakeholder, not a client, not a buyer, and not a partner. The example we use is Home Depot. So way back before social media, Home Depot sold plywood, and the Rainforest Alliance went to the CEO and said, you need to sell eco-certified Rainforest Alliance plywood. And Home Depot said, yeah, no, too expensive, no one will buy that, be on your way. So Rainforest Alliance mounted such a huge campaign against them, it almost bankrupted them. This is before social media. So you can bet Home Depot called up Rainforest Alliance and said, okay, let's talk. They were an ecosystem actor. They were not buying plywood from Home Depot. They're not a partner. They weren't a stakeholder. They had no governance. They were this person outside the stage impacting business. Another one is Timberland Boots. So there was a vegan group, PETA, that went after Timberland because they didn't have a vegan line of boots, or because they used leather. So actually, Timberland created another line of boots and made PETA into the governance and partner role to meet their needs. Yes, yeah.
Think of Michael Moore.
Yes. Nike, yes.
Now Nike has turned around to be a very socially responsible company. And
Yeah.
perhaps because they saw a big dip after
Yeah.
who was that downside listing?
Right, yeah. And that Michael Moore is an ecosystem actor. He's not wearing Nikes, or he wasn't then. He might be now.
He's probably picking them up at Goodwill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And so there are people we need to acknowledge. And those people outside of our business have needs. And we may not ever meet their needs. We have one client, she said one of her ecosystem actors were trolls. Like, what are their needs? She said, need to just vent. She says, I'm not meeting their needs. Okay, fair enough. She has no intentions of meeting their needs. They're trolls. That's okay. In some cases, we do need to address those needs. Had Home Depot done a Flourishing business canvas, they wouldn't have run into that problem. They would have said, wait, there's this group over here. Their need is certified plywood. And not only, I should mention, not only did Home Depot go ahead and start selling it, they funded a third-party agency that was separate, funded through donation, a certification agency to certify rainforest certified plywood. Home Depot did that. So they really came back to address the needs of that group. We have relationships and channels. So channels are how do people know to come to you? Relationships are why. So how do they know? Social media, face-to-face, word of mouth. Why do they do that? Trust, social enterprise, social responsibility. That's relationships. Then we have value creation. Same idea as value proposition. What do you create of value? Not your activities. I make purses. What's the value? The value is I'm using recycled goods, keeping stuff out of the landfill. What is the value? I'm employing people with barriers, more people working. Anytime you create, you destroy. So we have value co-destruction. Typically, that's some competitor. So as one agency sells boots, they're destroying competition because they now have this added social piece. That's a marketing line, but also a competitive advantage. The left side of the canvas is cost. So water, air, sunshine, earth, sometimes mining, that is our biophysical stocks. As the developers say, if you think none of that matters, try not breathing for a couple minutes. Try a couple days without water, and we'll see how essential those 4 things are to everything we do. Ecosystem services, things like mining, plastics production, photosynthesis, farming, they go into the resources we use. So if we have a food company, they're using flour, they're using wheat, they're using fruit, human labor, internet. Every piece of your business goes there. We talk about activities. What do you do? Who are your partners? So you might have a board of directors. You might just have you. And governance is the piece that includes community health if you're a food agency. Certifying agencies if you're a plywood producer. If you're in the fishing industry, there'll be some regulatory bodies there. When we're done, we have a story. So we can say, Kelvin from the fritter shop, the sun and the earth and the air and the soil create flour and fruit for him to make really great fritters. And it's him. He's governed by regulatory health. He meets all those. The value that he creates for the community is local foods, traditional Dutch pastries that create some intrinsic value in the buyers. His comment was, people say, this is just like I used to have in Holland. He's creating some form of community with them. People come to him because they trust him and they know the product. The product is consistent, they trust it, they get to him through social media, word of mouth profoundly. His stakeholders include the local farmers that he buys product from, 70% local food. So the impact of that amount of money, I forget how many he sells a year. It was some ridiculous number of fritters a year. And so he's injecting that money into local farming, which is really profound for the environment. And he's creating value because he donates also to harvest bucks. For people who are at the food bank, they get harvest bucks to go to the market and buy fresh produce. And he wants to support farmers, so that's why he did harvest bucks. And he also donates fritters to the food bank and the men's shelter, so people have normalized food. Not leftovers, he makes them fresh and brings them there. So people have normal, sweet, in his mind, sweet, tasty food. So he's doing a ton of value creation and stakeholders. At the end of the day, why outcomes? Why is the community better for what he's done? Because he's supporting local foods, he's feeding people things that bring value to them because it's just like home, is what they say. And he's supporting all these other agencies. Plus, he moved to fully environmentally friendly packaging. See, even my computer's going to sleep. So that's the story we get from Flourishing Business Canvas. It's about storytelling. So all those pieces of it for an entrepreneur. So when someone says, what do you do? They can say value rather than just activities. And then they say, oh, well, like, what does that mean? Like, really, what do you sell? So what actually do you do? Then they can say activities. I make purses, right? And then they say, well, who cares about that? Well, then you can tell them, stakeholders. And this is why the world is better for what I've done. It's really cool. It takes 2 hours. We're getting a bit more efficient. So it's about 90 minutes to walk through this with an entrepreneur. Getting better. I'd love to get it down to 60, but it's such a cool process. We love it. Yeah.
And then at the end, you have all the raw data for your storytelling.
Exactly. And all the raw data, you can take all of this and plunk it into a business plan or a grant. So in 90 minutes, we can create a full business plan from this or a grant.
And I'm sure if you created a computer program, it would auto.
We do have it, yeah. Yep, actually, yes. So it goes into an Excel spreadsheet. We just drop it onto Mural. It creates stickies, and then we just put all the virtual stickies down. Yes, it's so cool. This was Anthony Upward, Harvey Oswald, and Ondine Hogenboom from Lean for Flourishing. So we are doing another workshop here, second week of September. It's called Lean for Flourishing, and that's to train on the modeling tool that is after this. So we're going to take our entrepreneurs, we're going to train the trainers on Lean for Flourishing because we have 60 licenses for the platform. So these same designers created a set of Lean Startup. Ondine has a master's or a PhD in Lean Startup. And so she took that, added this, and created flourishing enterprises for every business, not just social enterprises. So we're going to have another workshop to train the trainers on Lean for Flourishing business modeling. We're going to buy the licenses and have them for 1 year. And then we're going to have accelerators in each region. There'll be 4 around southwestern Ontario with a pitch prize. So if you have entrepreneurs that need like small amounts of little bit of startup funding, they can come at any business stage to our accelerators and then pitch for the prize. And the prize actually is open to anyone in the public. They don't have to come.
What's the cost of the license?
We paid almost $10,000 for the 60. I've asked them, because they're developing, yeah, I want a per user per month fee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's cloud-based.
Yes. So it's cloud-based. It's on Sojo. Yeah, My Social Journey. I wonder if I can pull it up. Not sure I still have a... I was on trial on it. I may have expired. So I've asked them to give us that per user license, because then different agencies, the entrepreneur themselves, maybe it's $25 a month. Yeah, sorry, I expired my Sojo.
What's Sojo?
I'm thinking like from a consultant's perspective, this is
My Social Journey.
resources that will go with to do the interview.
Yes. Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah, Sojo's really cool in that it gives specific activities for the entrepreneur to go home and do. Some of you are on Growth Wheel. Yeah. Actually, we're working really hard to make this very compatible with Growth Wheel, because I see the trend of SPECs moving to that. And Growth Wheel is just an exercise that's not as intimidating as handing someone a full blank business plan template. They get little pieces of it and they go home and do it. And it's colorful and it's round and it's friendly. It's basically what it is. Growth Wheel? I know they use it in London. So when he mentioned that, Steve mentioned it here, I went and looked it up and communicated with our Sojo people. So it actually builds competencies, like Lean for Flourishing builds startup and entrepreneurial competencies rather than developing a business plan. So our accelerator is not about getting the executive summary written. It's not about doing that. It's about creating a compelling vision and mission, business model testing. Then they're going to go away for 2 weeks, and then they're going to come back, and we're going to talk about their test. Did you talk to people? 25 people Is this a good idea? Did someone other than your grandma say it's a good idea? Right? And come back, do we need to pivot? Nobody liked your idea? Okay, then probably you don't have a great business plan. It's not going to, even if it's a charity, not going to be sustainable. So they're going to come back to us, we're going to help them pivot, and then we're going to talk about storytelling again to the entrepreneurs, practice our pitches, go away, come back for a pitch competition. And build those competencies not for one specific business, because they might not launch that business. They might pivot and come back with another concept. We want them ready to do that. So, yeah. So I will email, you're going to get one really big email from me. And I'll send info, again, my contact info, but I will send information about Lean for Flourishing. And also I'm going to send you feedback. If you wouldn't mind, I would really appreciate if you would fill out a feedback form that we'll send you in the next few days. First of all, the government tells me I have to have it. And second, it would be awesome for feedback and for future, what you need in terms of advisors and coaches and future workshops if you want more. Maybe half day. I'm fried. I don't know about you, but I'm done. Yeah, I can do, we did try to get Flourishing Business Canvas in Niagara. I would be more than happy to bring them in for the day. There would be a fee associated with that. I can't afford to do them free anymore with the Flourishing Business Canvas people, but wow, they are incredible facilitators. I actually stole their first few slides, so when they come back, you'll see that again. That's just because I borrowed it from them. They are amazing facilitators. So if you're interested, we can try and set something up here as well in the fall. Very cool process to walk through. Yeah. Okay, I think we're fried and done. I'm done. I don't even know what time it is.
So, I think Megan's going to wrap up right now.
I'm fried.
First of all, before you do
ADHD.
that,
Oh, okay, Andre's coming.
I want to give Megan a round of applause.
Too much talking. Dude, you're rocking.
Megan is working really hard to build this network in our community. It's something that we've never done before. So a lot of things that you're asking and questioning, it's good.
Really good.
We're iterating this. It's emerging. It's happening as we're doing it as we do it.
We're building the plane on the way down.
Exactly.
Social.
So we're
Hopefully the way up.
So two things I wanted to mention. Firstly, thank you for being here. And I think Megan's going to continue working with the region. Keep in mind, part of this model is not supposed to be a London-centric model. Even though you're here in London today, the purpose of this Social Enterprise Southwest was to be a regional model. So with our partners in Windsor, our partners in Huron, and our partners in Niagara, we're really trying to use those as regional hubs across Southwestern Ontario. It's a big place, right? We can't all do it in London. It has to be spread out that way. So for those of you that are not in the London region, know that in those three corners of Southwestern Ontario, there's someone there to help you do that work. So Nikki's right here from Huron.
Yeah.
You see there to help out. In Niagara, we had Jenna, who was here earlier today, and then
Michelle's here from Windsor. Yep. Yeah.
And Michelle's here as well. So, and we have Julie, who you met earlier today, and then obviously Megan's everywhere.
Yeah. I am touring.
And so, yeah, she is tired.
Yeah.
Doing all that hard work. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that connection for you guys, because it's not only about today. Today's actually the start of that journey, we believe, and we want to keep that conversation going. We want to keep that feedback loop happening, so we can continue building this out. And I think Megan's done a really good job at doing it online, right? It's all available to everyone. It's on a website. It's not about Pillar. It's about Social Enterprise Southwest. It's about our region. It's about this movement. It's about all of you being part of that movement and co-creating it. I think everyone here has different expertise, and if we bring that together, our true hope is this idea of a community of practice. That's one of the impacts that we have in our work. Yes, our government is funding us to do this work, but a lot of other people are supporting us and relying on us to do this work. And so the impact to create a community of practice is important beyond just what a government funder would like. And honestly, the ministry has been awesome.
They're awesome.
They're
oh
great,
my goodness.
They're good people.
Yeah.
Katie Gibson, who's the director there, used to work at Mars and was a consultant with us before we started launching our fund. So she comes from a place where she understands where you're sitting, working in a RIC and working in impact investing in social enterprise space, and she brings that spirit to the government. And so the people that work under her know the kind of things that we're going through. And so when Megan calls them up, or I call them up and say, hey guys, our plan that we put down on paper is not exactly going the way we were thinking it's going to go. They're like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Work through it. Find different ways of approaching that solution. And at the end of the day, here's my hope. There's 4 models out there. It's a competitive spirit in me. There's 4 models out there.
Across the province,
Across
not
the province,
regionally, but.
Southwestern Ontario, Central Ontario, Northern, Eastern. I want ours to shine. Right? Right? Don't we all?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I think let's work together to make our Southwest shine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's it. Yes, dude, you rock.
Okay.
That's awesome.
You rock.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate any feedback, good, bad, whatever, great, ugly, I don't care. I want to hear it because I want to make this better. I want to make it work.